You know what your problem is?
I ain't got no problem, man. Don't tell me. Don't tell me what my problem is. Man.
The energy on the Love and Hip Hop. Atlanta set was thick with tension. The cameras were rolling, ready to capture another dramatic moment. But no one expected just how intense things would get when Scrappy and Khaotic crossed paths. What started as a simple argument quickly spiraled into something no one could control. The day began like any other, with the production crew juggling multiple storylines. But for Scrappy, today felt different. He had been dealing with personal struggles, family problems, relationship drama, and the constant pressure of life in the spotlight. The weight of it all had been pushing him to his limit. And now, on top of everything else, he had to deal with Khaotic. Khaotic was new to the show but had already made a name for himself. He had a sharp tongue and an even sharper attitude, always stirring up drama to stay in the spotlight. Scrappy had been in the game long enough to see through people like him, but lately, Khaotic had been going out of his way to push his buttons. For weeks, Khaotic had been taking shots at Scrappy, mocking him, questioning his career, making fun of his past relationships. Scrappy tried to brush it off, but today, he wasn't in the mood to ignore it. The producers had planned for them to confront each other, expecting a heated argument. What they didn't expect was how quickly things would get out of hand. The moment the cameras started rolling, Khaotic went straight for Scrappy, his words dripping with sarcasm. "You've been on this show forever, and you still can't get it together?" he taunted, a smug grin on his face. Scrappy clenched his jaw, trying to stay calm. He knew Khaotic was trying to get a reaction out of him, but today, patience wasn't on his side. "Watch your mouth," Scrappy warned, his voice low. Khaotic chuckled, shaking his head. "Or what? Man, you ain't the same Scrappy. You're just another dude trying to hold on to fame." "That was it," Scrappy snapped. Without thinking, he swung his hand, slapping Khaotic across the face. The sharp sound cut through the air, freezing everyone in place. Khaotic's head snapped to the side, his grin wiped clean. For a split second, he looked shocked. But that shock quickly turned into pure rage. Security rushed in, but Khaotic wasn't backing down. He lunged at Scrappy, his fists clenched, shoving past the crew trying to hold him back. "You really think you can just slap me and walk away?" he growled. Scrappy stood his ground, his chest rising and falling with anger. "You run your mouth too much. Now you see what happens when you don't know when to stop." The entire set fell silent. Cast and crew stood frozen, watching as security fought to keep the two men apart. The tension was suffocating. At that moment, it wasn't about the slap anymore. It was about pride, respect, and two men refusing to back down. The producers, realizing this had gone too far, quickly called for a break. The crew scrambled to separate Scrappy and Khaotic, pulling them in opposite directions. But even as the cameras kept rolling, the damage was done. This fight wasn't just a one-time outburst. It was a sign of something much deeper: resentment, competition, and a battle for dominance. Scrappy's slap wasn't just about Khaotic's words. It was his way of setting the record straight. Even after the fight was broken up, the tension didn't fade. Everyone on set could feel it. This was just the beginning. And as the cameras captured every second, one thing was clear: Love and Hip Hop. Atlanta had just witnessed one of its most explosive moments yet. The sharp slap cut through the air, stopping everyone in their tracks. Scrappy didn't flinch, standing his ground, while Khaotic's smirk slowly disappeared. The mood in the room shifted in an instant. What had started as just an argument had now turned into something much more serious. Bambi stood nearby, watching with a mix of pride and relief. She always knew Scrappy would stand up for her, but seeing him take action like this meant more than words ever could. Their connection was strong, and in that moment, he proved just how far he would go to protect the people he cared about. The rest of the cast stayed silent, eyes wide with shock. Some looked unsure of how to react, while others seemed secretly satisfied, Khaotic had finally been put in check. Scrappy had sent a clear message. His family came first, no questions asked. As the tension hung heavy in the air, everyone knew things had changed. The cameras kept rolling, capturing every stunned expression. Would Khaotic fight back, or had he just realized he'd met his match? No one knew what would happen next, but one thing was certain: this wasn't over. Khaotic, usually the loudest voice in the room, was caught off guard. He was no stranger to conflict, but this felt different. Scrappy wasn't just arguing for attention. He was defending his respect, his loved ones, and his reputation. The show would continue, but nothing would be the same. Lines had been drawn, and trust had been shaken. What happened next would decide everything.